right. Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm delaying while Randy gets back to the stream. I appreciate you guys coming in person and not just watching online. This will be available online on YouTube after we're done here. But I appreciate you coming in person. This lets you ask questions in person. If you didn't come in person, you wouldn't be able to really ask questions. And then I'll pray, and then we'll get started, and I'll hopefully keep it short. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your time you've given us here. Thank you for all the families and students that are here tonight. Be with us. Help us to have a great seasons ahead with soccer and volleyball and basketball and everything going on in the spring. That you just give us a great rest of our time here, and that as the summer quickly draws to a close, that we would focus on growing closer to you, God, and closer as a family, and that we'd have good camaraderie as we head into the school year, God. In your name, amen. All right, first, I just want to mention that it does say GBCA Fall Sports on 2026. That will be the bulk of our conversation. That doesn't mean we will not have another one of these orientations for basketball. The basketball information will just go out via an email. But if you put your email on one of those tall tables, you will get the initial email for basketball, and then we will determine if you need to tell us specifically, hey, my kid is not playing basketball, or they just don't show up to the first practice, and we will assume they're not playing basketball. If your kid is interested in playing basketball, you don't have to necessarily respond to the email, but that would be great. Just the more communication, the better for us. And then obviously if your kid shows up to the first practice, we're going to assume they're playing basketball. We don't force you to pay for the sports until the second week of the season, so you can get a couple weeks of trial to see if this is something your child likes. And I will let you know though that if you're forcing your child to play, then usually it takes a first couple games before they determine whether they like it or not. So my son cried, "Dad, don't make me play soccer, don't make me play baseball, don't make me play basketball, I hate it, it's the worst, it's terrible." And then he played the first game and he's like, "That was amazing." And next thing you know, he's outside and he wants to play every day. So if you're in that category where you're kind of forcing your child to play, give it a little bit of time. And we will be handing out schedules tonight, right, Galina? Is that correct? We'll be handing out schedules tonight. Some of them are still kind of TBD, as they always are. And then remember, soccer has a lot of rain dates, so that schedule is regularly flexing to unique dates. And volleyball, hopefully not as much, but it does a little bit. All right, so over the summer, we lost our auditorium clicker that allows me to go from slide to slide. And I just discovered that 20 minutes ago. So Randy, so don't hesitate to buy some cranberry products. Okay, done with the plug for cranberry business. Anyways, sports overview. Can you go to the next slide? All right, GBCA exists to serve the Christian community in the greater Attleboro area. We use basketball and only basketball. We don't even consider soccer or volleyball as a way to give young people an outlet for exercise and camaraderie without being exposed to poor language, distasteful music, and bad habits. Can you tell I got this from another slideshow, maybe during basketball season? Next slide. So the varsity boys soccer team will get 13 to 15 guaranteed games. So when you pay your price, so here I'm going to talk about finances really quick. It will be $300 per varsity sport. So if your child is on the varsity team, it will be $300. If your child's on the JV team only and didn't play any varsity, never dressed for varsity, only played JV or middle school, then that would be $250. And if they're only on middle school and never played JV and never played varsity, that'd be $200. There's almost never that child in that JV category. They almost always are middle school or varsity. So it's very rarely that we have people in the $250 category, but just a reminder, varsity. Now, I used to feel really bad about the pricing for our sports, but now my children play sports, and you guys are getting a huge bargain. You know how much Attleboro youth soccer cost? $300 for certain select sports, and then I paid $215 for 6 games and 6 practices. So you're getting a huge deal to pay $300 for potentially 18 games and 23 practices. That's a really, really good deal. So I no longer feel bad for you. Sorry, people. My kids are now older. So now I'm wiser and I know more about money. Girls volleyball, 13 to 15 guaranteed games, potentially 3 tournament games, so it's the same. We're expecting about 18 games. Now last year we had more games because we did some overnight stays. That ended up being a little bit more logistically challenging than we anticipated. It was our first time trying to do that many overnight stays in one season. We tried to make it a special year for the students, but we came to the conclusion that the majority of the older students, especially the varsity team, work, and a lot of them would rather work than play a high school sport. It's totally fine. That just seems to be, it's a little different than how it was when I was in high school. So I misread the room, and so a lot of the students who are sent chose not to go to the overnight stays in the tournaments because it took up a Saturday, and they said, I'd rather work my job on a Saturday than go to this sporting event. Fine, there's nothing wrong with that. I disagree with that philosophically. My personal opinion, and I'm going to say this, and you can disagree with me, your child's going to be able to work the rest of their lives, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. And that's great too, but why rush it? Why do we need to rush their childhood when they may never get the opportunity to play a high school sport ever again, unless we fail them and they repeat the grade, which is, can happen. Only if we like the kid. It's only if we like the kid. Anyways, but to me, that's my personal conviction. It is really hard on us as a coaching staff when you withhold your kid from sports because of academic or behavioral issues at home. We don't punish kids at Grace Baptist Christian Academy for things they do in the classroom for the sports team. We don't think philosophically that's appropriate. Additionally to that, if you're homeschooled, I don't have any authority over you in the classroom anyways. So problems on the sports team will come with punishments, and we'll talk about this more later, will come with punishments on the sports teams. If you committed an infraction in sports, you will have a punishment in sports. If you committed an infraction in the classroom, you will have a punishment in the classroom. You committed an infraction in another area of school, you will pay the penalty within that area of the school. But please, I have so many parents that do this to us. They withdraw their student from a game because the student really wants to play in the game, and they're like, I'm going to punish my child for disrespecting me. And I agree, they should not be doing this, whatever the punishment is, whatever the problem that they did was. But it would be inappropriate for, I shouldn't say inappropriate, but it's not fair to their teammates and to the coaches who are working very, very hard and trying to put the best team on the field or court as possible, and then to have that player removed from us and from their teammates is very, very frustrating for us. So I plead with you, please don't withdraw your child from a sporting event to punish them. Try other methods, and I can give some suggestions as a parent that I think would be more beneficial for you and your children, instead of punishing us, the coaches and their teammates, by withdrawing your kid from the team, or suspending them as a parent because of academic or home or based infractions. So that I gave a strong opinion about work, and I gave a strong opinion about withholding students from games. So some of the philosophies of our parents is, no, my child's going to work for everything. Anything extra they want, they're going to have to work for. Or they're paying for the team themselves because of we can't afford this. That's fine, I get that. Again, that's between you and your child and the Lord. I'm not trying to overstep that. But do realize that this is a team game. All these are teams and not individual performances. And so when a kid is not able to participate, it does impact all of us. So that's my 2 cents on the philosophy there from a parent standpoint. And you may disagree, and that's fine. We can have a debate about it later. I've been doing this for a really long time now, and been a player since I was 5 years old, and and remember feeling distasteful for students that were withheld from opportunities, and it hurt my team. And so So please don't do that to your young athletes. If you want to go to the next slide, JV boys will play all their games with the varsities until we figure out opponents. Again, it's kind of that same thing as the volleyball girls. There are some JV games on the schedule, but the opponents usually will call us mid-season and they'll say, hey, we've lost every single game, can you just send us to your middle school? Or they'll say, hey, we've beat every single opponent by 25 points, and can you just send us your varsity? And we usually will make an adjustment. So even if it says JV game on the schedule, doesn't always mean it is a JV game, because it can flex to either a varsity game or a middle school game. And so that's where that JV pricing, going back to that pricing, is really unique. All right, next slide. Middle school boys have 4 to 7 guaranteed games right now. I believe we have 6 on the schedule. Is that correct, Miss Galena? I think that's what you texted me this morning. I thought you said 6. I just put 4 to 7 because last year we had 6 on the schedule, and then 2 ended up getting canceled. We only ended up with 4 games, and then the tournament ended up getting canceled. So I felt really bad about that because that's not high quality for the money that you're spending. So we're doing everything in our power to making sure that your $200 is well worth it. And I also am encouraging the coaches that, and then we'll get to this a little bit later when we talk about playing time, but that every student is having the opportunity to practice and games to play. Now, it doesn't mean every student's going to get equal playing time, but we're doing everything in our power. The same was middle school girls. 6 to 8 guaranteed games so far, possible tournament of 2 to 3 additional games. Now, we already have a volleyball tournament, middle school volleyball tournament set up, and I believe we already have or was that soccer that was already set up? I can't remember. It was on November 7th? Or was it? Say it again? October 31st was a middle school volleyball tournament. Yeah, so we already have one tournament set up, and we're working on getting into a middle school, or maybe even hosting our own middle school soccer tournament to be able to give us more games and more opportunities for our young people. All right, next slide. Practices. Again, it's every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays for when there is no game. Now, a lot of this information, you guys, most of you in this room have been playing with us for years, and this is repeat information, and I'm so grateful for you're here. This is just a reminder. Again, you weren't fined for not coming. You could always have watched this on the internet, but I really, really do want to express my gratefulness for you coming. But yes, every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we will never do anything on a Sunday or Wednesday. I left the Wednesday thing in there this year because of the drama practices. We're doing Alice in Wonderland this year for the drama, and homeschoolers, you're welcome to participate in that as well if you would like to try out for that. That is on Wednesday afternoons. I think we are going to go give a Wednesday opportunity for 27-28 school year for middle school students only, because we're having a hard time. We got kicked off of Attleboro public fields this year. So we're running into an issue, and we're having an issue with court time as well for basketball. So we're trying to make it so middle schoolers get the attention that they need and they deserve, and that the varsity get their attention in detail that they deserve without having too many students on one field at one time. And so we won't do it for this year. We're still going to say no Wednesdays, but we may end up doing Wednesdays for 27-28 school year. If you have an issue with that, please talk to me. I need to know. I'm really going to be heavily depending on your voice on whether we do that for 27-28 school year. So let me know, hey, Mr. Adam, if we had something that went to 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, that would be a major problem for my family because we have church at 6 o'clock or whatever. And that's totally fine. I just need to hear about that. So let me know, and then that'll give me a better sense on whether we do that for 27-28 or not. But as of now, nothing on Sundays or Wednesdays. All right, next slide. Transportation will be taking the 2 15-passenger vans. We just got them repaired and fixed, and oil changes, and well, not super recently, but not that long ago. And so they should be all ready to go. If we need help with transportation, if some of you could volunteer saying, hey, I'm going to the game anyways, I'm picking up a younger sibling at GBCA, I would love to be able to help with transportation. It seems like we regularly are needing help with transportation, less so this past year than we have in older past years, But if you're just expressed to us, hey, I'm available on these days, I can help every Monday to transport because I'm going to the game anyways, or I don't work on Thursdays, so I can help on Thursdays. That'd be really, really important information to know, so please communicate that to us. We send an email every weekend, usually Sunday night and usually pretty late at night. So the first thing you should do is wake up on Monday and check your email for all updated information because the schedule will regularly change. You can we will give you a schedule tonight, and I would venture to say 20% of it will change by the end of the season. You will go through it and you're gonna say, okay, this game got canceled because of rain, this one canceled because we didn't have transportation, this one canceled because the ref didn't show up, and this one got canceled. You know, those things happen. They just happen for whatever reason. We've tried to do everything in our power to make sure they don't happen, but it just happens. It happens more in soccer than volleyball because of the weather, but it does happen from time to time in volleyball as well. So just check your emails before you leave the house on Monday to determine where is practice going to be, who's going to be participating, et cetera, et cetera. All right, next slide. Pick up. Please make sure you pick up your child from the court or the gym or the field in a timely manner. We will never leave a child alone, but we want to go home too. So please, please do that. What our philosophy is, if we're 45 minutes away from home, we will have your child call home. The most infuriating students are the ones when you ask them, Johnny, did you call your mom or your dad? Yes. And then you get to the school and they're like, oh, you meant me, Johnny? I thought you were talking to Jimmy. And you're like, I asked you specifically. Okay, that happens all the time. Usually with the middle school boys, not as much with the rest of the students. I'm not targeting anyone, but middle school boys are usually the problem. Anyways, so I'm just saying, if you have a middle school son, if you have a middle school child, they should not be allowed to leave home unless they know two things. My 5-year-old, my 7-year-old knows this, and my 4-year-old knows this. So your 13-year-old or 12-year-old should know this. Your phone number, I'm blown away with how many of your 6th graders don't know your phone number. That is brutal, people. Brutal for us, the drivers. And your address. Your kids don't know your address, and they're in middle school. That's insane. Okay, I'm no longer incriminating you as parents. It's no one in this room. It'll be someone that didn't come tonight that's watching on TV land. Okay, everybody in this room, their kids know their number and their address. But it's crazy. Okay, so they can't play until they know this information. They cannot play until they have your number memorized. And if we don't have a team because my team doesn't know of their parents' phone number and their address, so be it. But please, please, that's frustrating for us when they're like, I don't know my mom's number, I don't know my dad's number, and you're like, well, I don't know your mom and dad's number either. And then I have to go in the backpack and look at their emergency care form, and I have a flashlight while I'm driving, and we're like, I think it's a 7, it could be a 6, I have no idea. Very frustrating. So please, please, please have them memorize that. And maybe memorize both mom and dad, because if one of them doesn't pick up, then hopefully the other one will. So that's please, I beg. We want to go home. I was telling Anu's son this week, he was asking me some horror stories that I have of coaching, and I used to have to drop the 15-passenger van off at another church, and I would have students, we would go to Connecticut, and then double basketball game. By the time we get back to this building, it's 9:30, and then a student didn't even call their parent until we got back here, even though I asked them specifically. Their parent lives 45 minutes away, so by the time they get here, it's 10:30 at least, and then I have to go and drop the van off at another church in Pawtucket, and then by the time I go from Pawtucket to my house in Taunton, that's like a 45-minute drive, so I'm not getting home till midnight. That's not fair to me, okay? So please, please don't do that. All right, but I know nobody in this room will ever do that. It's just people in TV land. I'm coming for you, TV land. Sorry. All right. Yes, next slide. Everybody in this corner of the room thinks I'm talking to them. There's a camera back there, that's why I'm pointing there. Expectations. Students will buy their own jerseys. The school has the discretion to say that a jersey is too tight or small and make a student purchase a larger, better fitting jerseys. I expect students will get new jersey. I didn't finish that sentence. Wow, good me. This is what happens when you work at midnight. Anyways, the rest of that sentence is supposed to say, in high school, Students will be expected to get new jerseys in high school, which means you will be buying new jerseys. That will be an expense on top of your $300 or on top of your $200 or $250 for those jerseys. Now, the first time you ever buy jerseys, the very first time, that's just part of your $300 fee. But if you have to get a replacement jersey, then that's when it's going to be an extra expense. And that's up to our discretion. It's mostly an issue for volleyball, and it's really uncomfortable for us as coach, or me and some of the female staff, to say to the young ladies, and it's usually because the young ladies, not necessarily they've gotten taller, but they've expanded a little bit, and so the jerseys are a little more snug than they were, and that's embarrassing for the young ladies, it's embarrassing for us. So as parents, could you do me a favor? Can you please evaluate your child's size appropriately? And if they say to you, Mom or Dad, I really, really like to play with it tight, just a little looser would be better. I, Adam Bailey, represent the school wherever I go, and the students represent the school wherever we go. You as parents are represented everywhere your children go as well. But ultimately, we're representing God everywhere we go. And so you may personally have a taste that's saying, I don't care what my daughter wears or what my son wears or how tight or how short or how low something is. But the school standard is that shorts go to the knees for boys and girls. This is not a sexist rule. It's the same for both genders. And that the tops go to the neck above the collarbone, and that there's a little bit of give in the shirts, okay? That's the school standard. So when the girls who are more of a problem, although the soccer team's been weirdly a problem of this lately, and it's uncomfortable for all of us. Anyways, when the shorts keep getting rolled and rolled and rolled to the point where now your shirt's now untucked and I can no longer see your shorts, that's a problem. So we really, really need to rein that in. Please, parents, I know if it's not your standard, you don't care about that, but it's our school standard. We're not saying that you're going to hell or something like that if you don't follow these rules. All I'm saying is please help us out. Please keep your daughters dressed the way that the school would have us. And then parents of boys, same thing. They don't need to be rolling their shorts. I know the shorts are a little bigger than probably what they're comfortable with or familiar with at home, but that is the standard that we have as a school. So please, please abide to those standards. And don't make us have to have an awkward conversation. I had to have a wicked awkward conversation with the volleyball team last year. Not every player, but a few of the players. And I don't want to be put in that compromise situation. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to your daughters. So please don't do that. That's really, really not cool. All right, next slide. If a student is ejected, so these are the student behavior expectations. If a student is ejected, this is the consequence. They have to sit out the next 2 games, potentially the season. There is a school that we play up in New Hampshire, the boys soccer team in particular, that has had a kid ejected, what, Randy, 3 years in a row now? 3 years in a row. They've had a kid ejected from a soccer game. And yet every time we play this team, this kid is back on the field. And I talked to the administrator and I talked to the athletic director, and I'm like, our kids are not bad kids. We have good kids. They're not, how many fight? And I've asked other ADs, this kid gets in fights all the time and he's getting ejected regularly. So why is he still on the team? Why is he still in the school? Like, this is crazy. And they're like, well, he's a big donor and he's a nice kid. He's just trouble. Okay, we don't deal with that nonsense here. That's not right. If a kid gets ejected, they sit out 2 games. And it's not appropriate to say, well, this parent pays more in tuition, so therefore the kid gets special privileges. That's not appropriate. So if your child gets ejected because for whatever reason, even if the referee's a crazy person, they're going to sit out the next 2 games. I don't care if it's a tournament game. I don't care if it's a championship game. If they get ejected, they're not playing the next 2 games or potentially the season, depending on the severity. If a student introduces something like music, movie, language, etc., to another student that would clearly be unscriptural, then I think on the next slide I have consequences, unless we're just like missing major sections of this. Then they have, okay, that is it. They have to run all of next practice, potentially sitting out the next game. And this happens in the van rides from time to time, and I hate that. And I want you guys to be able to trust that these van rides are going to be safe, and we're trying to do everything in our power to make sure that these van rides are safe. So if your son or daughter wants to watch a movie or listen to music, they have headphones. They can listen to their headphones. They can watch their movie. But the movies really, really need to be overly appropriate. Like nothing beyond PG. If it's PG-13, it's probably whatever at your house. I don't care what you do. I mean, I do care what you do at your house, but I'm not incriminating you or judging you and saying, well, you're a terrible Christian or whatever. But when you're dealing with a group of people and other people's kids, you can't let your child watch whatever you would let them watch at home. We had an issue at a sister church where a child was watching an inappropriate movie. It was PG-13 or R or something. I think it was rated R. And we told the parents, we said, are you sure you want your kid to be watching this? It was not at my house, it was at this other family's house. And the mom said, oh, it's fine, it's nothing he hasn't seen or heard before. It's like, he's 15. I don't think that this is appropriate. I don't care how many times he's heard it and seen it. That's a terrible parenting advice. What are we doing? Now that kid is in college and dealing with a lot of issues and depression and everything else. Probably, and I'm not going to say it's causation is correlation there, but it could have something to do with maybe some of the things he's watching. So just be careful about what your kids are watching, but definitely in the vans, they should not be watching anything above PG. PG at the most intense. And then I used to say Disney's fine, but now Disney's not fine. So, or some Disney's not fine. But, so just have a lot of discretion. Parents have been getting so much better about this. This used to be a bigger problem, but lately it's been better because so many of you are not giving your kids cell phones and technology, and I'm so grateful for that. That's amazing. You're the best in the world. So it's actually been less of an issue because of how many of you have not given your kids a cell phone. Please, if you have not given your cell phone or your kids a cell phone, hold out, be strong, be a foundation for the rest of us, because you know how it happens. It's always going to be, well, Johnny has a cell phone, Susie has a cell phone, why can't I? And you're going to hear this a million times, and I get it. And I'm saying this to you right now, and my kids are already asking me for a cell phone. If you do the cell phone thing, can you make it dumb so it can't like go on YouTube or can't go on like Hulu or Netflix? That would be amazing. Just be able to call you and your spouse. That would be ideal. And now again, I'm making another intense opinion viewpoint, but it just makes it really hard on us as a staff when they have so much access to the internet. It makes it really, really hard. The brain rot that we hear, and I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but I'm sure you are because you have young people. TikTok sounds that we hear in the backseat, we're like, what is going on? You're like, oh, it's a hot dog who's dressed as a cowboy who's riding an ice cream cone. You're like, what? Why? Why are we doing this to our children? This is insane. Okay, just don't. Just please leave. I have a cell phone. Randy has a cell phone. Glenn has a cell phone. Ms. Carolyn has a cell phone. I'm sure there's other coaches in here that have cell phones. Like we don't need it. We just don't need it. So please be helpful to us. Yeah, your kids shouldn't be on TikTok. They shouldn't be on Instagram, Snapchat. It's just not healthy. It's not a safe place. Video games with local area network in the van or in the vans has caused problems in the past. We've had students that are playing like Grand Theft Auto against each other, and they're like, well, it's safe because it's just us two, and they're like robbing people and stealing cars and beating people up on the side of the road and like bludgeoning people for no reason. Okay, yeah, so like you guys get the gist. I know I'm belaboring the point, but just, help us out. If a student talks back to a coach or is dismissive to a coach, they sit the rest of that game, they run all of next practice, and they potentially sit out the next game. This happens way too regularly. Especially with the boys. The girls are much better about this as a whole, but we've had it with the girls in the past as well, so it's not just the boys. But just encourage your kid. Hey, the coach is doing the best they can. They're not paid particularly well, if at all, to do this, and they're taking time out of their schedule and out of their lives to coach you in the sport, and they are trying to do the best they can. So relax. We're not going to the NBA or whatever, or maybe you are going to the NBA, and then at that point you can come back and coach us. But until then, let us just try to do the best we can. You don't need to talk back to us, even in the heat of the moment. All right, next slide.
Can I pull a link for that?
Yes, go ahead.
That I think attitude is one of the more important things, especially with guy sports that get very heated very quickly and then tend to snap back at whoever's there. Usually it's the coach or their teammates. I think we want to create an environment where these kids are not only respectful towards each other, but an authority figure as well. It's Adam said, we are, the coaches are taking time out of our day because we want to help them improve not only sports, but in their spiritual growth as well. And in that, if we lose, it's still glorify the Lord. We win, glorify the Lord. But treating each other with the utmost respect is something I think we, as coaches, really want to work on with kids, especially when you're getting into high school or even if you're at the end of high school. It's not just the coaches. Yes, we need to respect what we say. We are adults and our brains are fully formed somewhat. But towards each other is very important as well. You have no idea how far that can go, that camaraderie can go in a sports team, never mind winning, but in relationships in the future and whatnot.
Yeah, when there's just to kind of continue that, when there's a mistake made on the field, whether it be a goal scored or a point given up in volleyball or a basket given up in basketball, it's a team game. Everybody failed. It's not the goalie's fault. It's not the front row's fault. It's not the back row's fault. It's everybody contributed to that error, and we need to take personal blame and personal responsibility. And that all starts from the coaches. It also starts from the families at home. Are we as parents taking personal responsibility and encouraging or teaching our students to say, hey, I made a mistake. This is how I am dealing with that mistake, and it was my fault. I'm not going to blame my boss or my coworkers or the government or whatever it may be on the mistake that was made. So taking personal responsibility and then teaching our young people that personal responsibility is actually maturation and not blaming other people when something went wrong. And so that's something we really, really want to focus on. I saw a huge improvement in that in the boys basketball team last year when I coached it. We went from the beginning of the season that it was everybody else's fault, never my fault. And then by the end of the season, everybody was like, yeah, I can do better. This is how I can improve. Hey, I'm sorry, I messed up. I'm going to do better next time. And that's all we're looking for. And I think we can see good camaraderie if we continue to focus on that. All right, next slide. Athletes should not share headphones. I've already talked about that already, about the van rides. Touch each other in a violent or romantic way. There's a thing with the soccer players, and I'm going to give you some ideas, but I really don't want you to do this, where they go up to each other and they go 5-star, and they smack each other on the back as hard as they can, and it leaves a red welt on their back. And then if you go, ow, then they go, you're a loser, you're so soft, everybody make fun of him. And then if you tell the coach, then you're made fun of for being a tattletale. And if you accept it and laugh it off, then they keep doing it. And there's no winning that situation, except for if you touch me again, I'm going to punch you in the face. But that's not really a solution we want either. So yeah, students really need to not touch each other for any reason. And then obviously the romantic one is a given. Sometimes the volleyball teams and soccer teams and basketball teams will be on the same trip together and will stop at a place to eat regularly. And students will think like, oh, I can get away with, staring deeply romantically into my boyfriend or girlfriend's eye behind the 15-passenger van, and Mr. Adam will never know. And then every time I know, and it's awkward for me because I'm like, what are you guys doing back here? And they're like, nothing. Oh. Okay, and it's just awkward. It's like one of those weird TV shows that you're just awkward. Okay, so help your young person. Threaten them with their life to not romantically breathe their other significant other's breath, and we'll go from there. They can't take off their jersey or change outside of private space before final handshakes are completed. I had a soccer team about 2019, that for whatever reason changed all of their clothes, including their shorts and everything, and they were just in their underwear on the field, and I couldn't get them to stop. So now we have a new rule. You will be punished if you do this. So yeah, I don't know why they would do that, but they did. It was just something they did. And it's also against the rules of the game. If you take your jersey off before the handshakes are done, that's a red card in soccer, or a yellow card. I think it's a yellow card in soccer. It's an ejection in basketball. And in volleyball, I have no idea what the rule is, but girls typically don't do that. Next slide. Athletes should not play music on speakers during practice or before games. I know that they're like, I can't get pumped up unless I have this music in my life, okay? Well, you need to find a way to get internally motivated, because not everybody has the same music taste as you. We don't all want to be like jumping up and down, or, you know, singing Kumbaya, or whatever it is that you prefer as your music preference. So we're just doing nothing. Or you can wear headphones, fine. Wear headphones, wear your AirPods, those are cool. And do your thing that way, but we're not going to do general music for everyone. We're not going to harass opponents by taunting or giving them challenges. It was kind of interesting in taunting Little League Baseball this year, where my son played, because the coach encouraged our young people to taunt the other team, which on one hand is kind of hilarious when 7-year-olds do that, but on the other hand, I'm like, I don't like the direction this is headed. So yeah, we're not going to do that. And then name call teammates for bad play, which we've already mentioned. We're not going to do that. Next slide. Parents should not tell officials, yell at officials for bad calls. As an official myself, although I am no longer doing that because I'm selling cranberries now, it's really hurtful. And I'm a sensitive person, and I'm sure other referees are too. So don't do that. That's mean. And then don't yell at or confront coaches for playing time allotment. That was really awkward. One year we had a coach get yelled at in the middle of a game. The parent stormed onto the court and yanked her daughter off of the court, walking through the middle of the court. And she said, "She's not playing for you. You never play her, blah, 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 blah." And it was really awkward. And then that coach never wanted to coach again. Gee, I don't know why. And then yell at or confront opposing players. And then I think it's on the next slide, if you want to go to the next slide, but I have something I want to add to that. Yeah, okay, parents should not comment about other children when they make a mistake. This is really hard not to do. Even when I'm watching my son play, I'm like, "Oh, Johnny, why did you throw that ball there? Why'd you kick it there? That's ridiculous," okay? But you're like, "Johnny," and just keep it in your head, because I know we all want to say it, but we got to make sure. Again, even if their parent's not nearby, if someone hears you making a comment negatively about their child, that's very hurtful to that parent and then potentially to that student. So keep the comments to yourself. Keep it all positive. Yay, team, we scored, we did well, yay. And when something bad happens, oh well, we'll get them next time. You know, that would be the most negative thing you could say. And then play non-approved music if transporting other students. So if you do volunteer to help us transport, keep the music to like Christian music, oldies, and by oldies I mean like 70s or older, and you know, Disney music from like the early 2000s or older. That seems like it's pretty safe. I'm sure that'll change as years go on. But K-Love is fine. It's not everybody's taste, so do be careful and do realize that a lot of people don't prefer K-Love. But that one I think we can get away with. But you know what would be great in the car rides is just talking and getting to know the young people, because we have amazing young people that are so awesome, and getting to know them and talk. Now, they're not going to want to talk to you. They're going to be like, "How's their day?" "Good." "What'd you guys do today?" "Nothing." Okay, and that's what they'll do to you, but secretly deep down inside they want to have a discussion. Okay, guys, I know this is true. They're going to be like, "No, I don't want to talk to my parents." Okay, just, you know, ask them better questions than that. And then, yeah, next. Parents should help us transport students to the game. If they are going to the game, they should support the school with loud cheering and clapping. Yeah, don't worry about what people think about you when you cheer really loud. It's a great home field or home court advantage, so just go for it. Next. All right, playing time. There has never been an athlete satisfied with their playing time, and that is a good thing. This is the 3 steps for earning more playing time. Being the best overall player. If you are the best player, you will play more. And if you're not getting a lot of playing time, it's probably because you're not the best player, even if you think you are. Everybody thinks they're the best player. My son came off a soccer field where he scored 0 goals, even though he was playing forward, and his teammates scored 7 and told me he was the best player on the team. Totally fine. I did kind of say to him, I'm like, well, everybody else scored but you, and I didn't want to destroy his confidence, but at the same time, reality here, you're probably not the best player if you're not getting all the playing time you think you deserve. Even the best player, though, will get taken off the field or the court from time to time. They will get taken out of the game because we're trying to do what's best for the team. Sometimes they won't come out of the game, and that's fine too. But for the most part, we're going to try to put the team in the best position to succeed and not worrying about, is this parent going to be mad because this is the only game they can come to all year, they took time off of work to see Johnny play? We can't think about these things. There's a lot to coaching, but that should not be one of the things we worry about as coaches. Now, I, as administrator, worry about that. And I'm looking at the coach like, can you please put Johnny in because his parents took work off and I want them to continue paying tuition and coming to the school. I worry about that, but I don't want the coaches to worry about that because that's not really fair to them. I want them to worry about winning the game. That's what I want the coaches to worry about, and not worry about players' feelings or parents' feelings. Number 2, working hard at every opportunity. We have some players who are like, well, I'm clearly the best player, so I'm just not going to practice today. It's a complete waste of my time. All we do is run sprints every single day. I'm not going, and there's going to be no consequence. I hope there is a consequence. I hope the coaches do consequence. It's not guaranteed that there's going to be a consequence because I leave that up to the discretion of the coaches. But if you don't show up to practice, that's not working hard. And if you're tied with someone on the depth chart and this person shows up to practice and this person doesn't, this person's going to get more playing time than this person, even if they're completely equal in skill level. But if this person's way better and this person's way worse, even if they don't show up to practice, there might be a probability that they still get more playing time because they're helping the team to win. At the end of the day, we are trying to win at the varsity level. At the middle school level, we're trying to keep it competitive, but we're also trying to make sure everybody plays. And I understand there was some situations this past year where some middle schoolers didn't get opportunities to play, and hopefully that will never happen again, and I apologize. I think it just slipped the coach's mind in those cases, and if you're here today and that happened to you or you're a middle schooler, I really apologize, and I hope that never happens again. And then number 3, being a good teammate. If you're on the sidelines and you're like, yay, go team, yay, 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 the coach is going to hear that in the back of their mind, and they're going to be like, Johnny, go in the game. But if you're on the bench and you're like, why you stink, Johnny? You're the worst. Okay, you're not going to play probably because, yes, the coach is hearing you, but he's not going to be super stoked or she's not going to be super stoked with you. So cheering your teammate on and being loud and boisterous on the sideline can not only have an effect on your team positively, but it also can impact the other team by being like, wow, they're really boisterous and loud and they look like they're having a good time, and then they start getting in their own head. So those are the 3 keys to getting more playing time. Coaches, you want to add anything to that? Okay, so we're not guaranteeing playing time just because you showed up to every practice and every single game. That's great, that's what we want, but at the end of the day, the best players are going to play on the varsity level. At the middle school and JV level, not quite that way. But. Next slide. All right, and then I feel like there's something I'm missing. Talking about basketball. So we haven't completely made the basketball schedules yet. We are going to try to do an overnight for basketball varsity. And then middle school, we may end up delaying the middle school season a little bit. And we have I think we have 1 game in December. So we might have like a couple practices before that first game, and then we might delay because we are having some issues with our facilities. So let's talk about facilities really quick. Soccer is going to be doing all of their stuff at Bliss Fields in Rehoboth. Not, when I say Bliss Fields, a lot of times parents get confused and they say, oh, Bliss Brothers Dairy. It must be the field across the street from Bliss Brothers Dairy. No, it is not. Bliss Brothers Dairy's old cow farm, dairy farm, is now where Bliss Fields are in Rehoboth. So that will be, Attleboro kicked us off all the Attleboro fields this year for a variety of reasons, and so we will be in Rehoboth all year for practice and for games. It is more expensive for us to do that. It's unfortunate, and we're praying that we don't lose money on the seasons this year. Girls volleyball, you will be at the Pleasant Street YMCA this year, not at Mass Premier. And I understand some of you who live closer to Mass Premier, I do apologize for that, but it is so much more affordable for us at the YMCA and closer to the school. It is only an 8-minute drive from the school to the Attleboro YMCA as opposed to the 20+ minutes to Mass Premier. So we will be at the Attleboro YMCA for volleyball and at Bliss Fields in Rehoboth for soccer. If you have any questions about those two fields or those two locations, please ask me. Those will be for the home events and practices. For basketball, we're not sure where we're going to be yet, but more than likely games will be at the Attleboro Pleasant Street YMCA. So remember, there's 2 YMCAs in Attleboro. There's North Main Street YMCA and there's Pleasant Street YMCA. We're at the Pleasant Street YMCA, not the North Main Street YMCA. So the basketball games for varsity and middle school and JV will probably be at the Pleasant Street YMCA. Practices most likely will be at Mass Premier, but it could be that we are also at practices at the Pleasant Street YMCA. We're not sure yet. Pricing is a big factor on those 2 things. So we're going to figure that out hopefully this week or maybe next week about basketball and be able to let you know. Our goal is to whatever's going to be the most cost effective, not only in gas getting to the location, but also rental time at the courts, along with how many hoops are available for us to shoot on and practice with. And then that'll impact what we do with middle school schedule, and that's why I'm concerned that middle school might not have enough might not have enough hoops and individual attention. So we either will be at Mass Premier to accommodate the middle school, or the middle school season will be more February, March heavy as opposed to December, January heavy. So that's might be an adjustment we make for middle school basketball, both girls and boys, just letting you know. All right, now the floor is open. I'm going to start with coaches. Is there anything I did not mention, coaches, that should be mentioned? Yes. Mrs. DuPont is the varsity girls volleyball coach. Go ahead. And I'm going to repeat for the TV Land audience what you're saying.
I just wanted to reiterate the cell phones during practice games, absolutely no phones on the bench at all.
That's a great point. Yeah, I completely forgot to mention that. We had students last year who would use their cell phone while they're sitting on the bench during a game. The thought never even crossed my mind that that could happen. That is insanity, and that student was scolded, but you will be punished, hopefully with laps until you puke type of thing. That was an exaggeration. All of you guys wicked wide-eyed when I said that. You'll be punished for that type of behavior, maybe a loss of playing time or something like that, but you should never be using your cell phone during a game. That's insanity. Did I exaggerate enough to make that point, bring it home? Sorry. I kind of stole your thunder there. Yeah. After practice, before practice, after game, before game, fine. But not the 30 minutes before the game, and wait until the coaches are done giving their post-game speech before we communicate to parents. And that would go for like halftime. We used to have these students that they would always go to their dad for a halftime pep talk. And it's like, no, I'm your coach. You talk to me. Don't talk to dad. I don't care what he's saying. And then, making sure that students are with us pre-game, during game, and then once we're done with our post-game speech, then they can talk to you and you can go and break down their play. But in the meantime, let us try to help and do our job the best we can. Anything else? That was a great point, Holly. I think everybody knows my coaches that's here. I don't have a ton of new people here, but just so everybody knows, Holly's the head varsity coach, and Miss Carolyn, can you just raise your hand And Carolyn is the middle school coach and assistant varsity coach. And then Holly obviously will help with middle school as well when available. Is there anybody else oh, Anaya. Is she not here? Anaya's not here. I sent an email and I texted her. So I don't know. We have another coach, a third coach, Anaya, who also teaches here at the school, and she's not here tonight. But anyways, she will be helping as well with as an assistant. And then soccer coach, I have Coach Randy in the back who's helping me with the slides. He's going to be the boys varsity coach. He's been assistant coach the last 3 years, and this year will be his first year as head varsity. And then Pietro Vivenzio, who has been a player who graduated 2 years ago, will be an assistant coach. Pietro will not be the head coach for either team. Coach Randy will be the head coach for both middle school JV or all middle school JV and varsity, with Pietro being an assistant for all three and never the head. He's just not quite old enough yet for that responsibility, but he's getting there very, very rapidly, and maybe in future years he can take on more of that role. So that'll be helpful. And then if there's anybody else that's interested in helping us with soccer, it'd be nice to have 3 coaches. It's really beneficial to have 3. So if anybody else would be willing to help out with that, we would love to have your help. Come talk to me afterwards. All right. Anything else, coaches, that I need to add? All right. The floor is open to you as parents, and I'm going to try to do the best I can to repeat your question. Or would you rather me grab one of the wireless mics and just hand it around? All right, I'll just repeat the question. Does anybody have any questions that I didn't go over? Wow, last year was like 20 questions, so nothing, no one. Yes, Coach Randy. That's a good one. Okay. Yes, so we will buy them food. If we have the money to buy them food, we will do our best to buy them food, or take up a collection plate to buy them food. But that's not fair. Again, that's not fair on us. Don't send your kid to eat with a $50 bill. They will spend all $50 on McDonald's. I had a kid come back with like 100 nuggets, and he's like, I will be set for life, okay? And then they throw up on the way home, and it's disgusting. Like, don't do that, okay? Especially like the middle schoolers, their first time out without you in their lives, and they're like, what this? And they're jumping from the roof of McDonald's. Okay, yeah, so but do also realize that McDonald's, although has a value meal, isn't a value meal how it used to be back in our day. Okay, so it's about $10 to $15 for a meal at McDonald's. So I would just send them with 15, maybe send them with a 20, and we try not to do too much out to eat. If we are back to this building by 6 p.m., I usually tell the coaches, don't stop to eat. If we're back in this building by 6 p.m., because by the time you get home and get situated, it is usually under 7 still, and the kid can eat at 7 o'clock without dying. I don't want to stop to eat if we can help it, because that just is delayed everyone else. If we get to this building after 6 p.m., that's usually when we will try to stop to eat, and that would be 5th through 12th grade, does not matter. We usually, if we get to the building after 6. It usually affects basketball more than it affects volleyball and soccer, because volleyball and soccer games are simultaneous, whereas basketball is usually back to back. But it does happen from time to time in these sports as well. You wanted to add something? Go ahead. You forgot. Yes. Yes. That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up, and I meant to include that in the notes because that was a question from last year too. If we get to this building after 9 p.m., homework, I'm going to ask the teachers to delay the homework for a day. Studying still applies. So if they have a test the next day, they still have a test the next day. But if it's a seat work or homework assignment, then that usually can be delayed. Now, this is what the students will usually do, though. Not that your son would ever do this, but right. But this is usually what the students do. They'll get an assignment. On like a Monday that's due on Friday. Then we have an away game on Thursday night. And they're like, oh, I can't do the homework. It's due on Friday, and we had an away game on Thursday. Okay, well, what about Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night? I'm not going to do it ahead of time. That'd be wild. Okay, so there are certain things that as the students come to me and they're like, but you said, Mr. Adam, I'm going to be like, get out of here, Johnny. That's insane. Okay, but if it was assigned on a Thursday to be due on Friday and there's an away game, that would be, okay, let's have a little bit of grace here. But if it's assigned on a Monday to be due on a Friday and they have an away game on a Thursday, that's when it's like, all right, dude, you had 3 days to get this done. That's not really an excuse. So, did I answer your question?
So homework are not skipped on the
You, yeah, you can get extension, but you can never just not do it. And it's only an extension if it was assigned like on a Tuesday to be due on a Wednesday, and we had an away game on that Tuesday night. That would be the only exception. But for the most part, that almost never happens. And then the studying is never excused. So if you have a test on a Wednesday and we have a late game on a Tuesday night, sorry, we have a test on a Wednesday. When you're an adult, you're gonna stay up. You have a kid. Your kid keeps you up all night. You don't sleep really good, and then you still have things to do the next day. So it's good at training for adulthood. Yes, go ahead. Question.
Are there team moms assigned for 8 days to set up snacks and drinks for the team?
I've never officially had that, but we've had team moms that will just like, hey, I brought oranges for everyone this game. But it's not like an assigned or an organized group. But yeah, if you want to take that on or there's a group of you, ladies or men, that want to say like, I'm going to do oranges this game. Great, awesome.
I think what I was really, there's two parts to that.
Yeah.
Basically, for the game days, are the teams definitely going to have drinks and snacks? And then is there a team on that?
No, the answer would be definitely no. But so you would be responsible for your own child's sustenance, and then but if anybody wants to pitch in and volunteer, but the school will not be paying for that, so that would be out of your own pocket. And then but that would be amazing if we had that. We've never had that before, but that would be awesome. We've had parents who will bring snacks occasionally, but nothing scheduled, and usually we don't know about it until the game. Like, I brought oranges today, and this kid's like, I ate so much I can't even walk, but I'll eat 7 oranges, and so that does happen from time to time. Right, exactly, yes. But oranges are great, bananas are cool, so whatever. Yes? You remembered, okay.
When there is a game, I feel like some parents, this doesn't always cross through, so parents need to know that when there's a game, they're not picking their children up at 5:30 unless it's like a home. I've had parents that showed up here at 5 and they're like, where are you guys? They're like, we're 2 hours away because there's still a game. So if there is a game, they need to know that and know that.
Yeah, you need to really look at the schedule. We usually try to put on the schedule our estimated time back here. Now, I'm notorious for never giving the right time, and people make fun of me, and that hurts my feelings, but apparently it's true because everybody says it. Galena's now in charge of schedule, so now we all get to make fun of her. So, but in theory, it's an estimated time. In theory, we usually block, like, okay, if it takes us 45 minutes to get to this location, and it takes us about 45 minutes to eat, and then it takes us 45 minutes to get home, and then a game is usually an hour and a half, this is when we expect to be home. That's kind of how we do that. But there's always things that happen. Oh, there was an injection, and so that delayed the game by 10 minutes or whatever, So there are things that do come up. But yeah, make sure that this happens a lot where parents show up to the school here, aftercare's over, and we're like, why are there people in the car? And they're like, are they coming back anytime soon? We're like, they're in New Hampshire. They are not going to be back anytime soon. I am so sorry. You need to go home and come back. And they're like, what? Okay, and parents get upset, but it is communicated via email. There is a schedule that's given to you, so make sure you pay very close attention. And now that we're at the Attleboro YMCA for volleyball people, it used to be 5:30 back here. I'd like to venture to say we'll be back at 5:15, so it should save us 15 minutes, but I could be wrong about that. We are responsible to set up and take down the volleyball net, so that could add that same amount of time, so we're still back at 5:30. But we do get the court as early as we want, so if we can get there at 3 o'clock, we can start setting it up at 3 o'clock, so we get an extra 30 minutes of practice for volleyball if we can get there early enough. And if any of you homeschoolers just want to get there at 2:45 and get that thing set up so we can just walk in and play, go for it. They said go for it. So that would be awesome. Did that sufficiently answer what you, kind of your suggestion that you said? All right, good question. Anybody else have anything else that I didn't mention? All right, well then I'm going to, wow, we did okay. It was a full hour, 60 minutes. All right, I'm just going to end this with a word of prayer. If you have any personal questions for me, let me know. We are ordering new jerseys for anybody who does not have any, so please make sure that you signed up on that list. People in TV land, you'll need to communicate to me via email if you need a new jersey, because we're ordering jerseys tomorrow for anybody that needs one. Varsity team, middle schoolers, we have some extra, and then we usually middle schoolers will just give theirs back because you want to not have to buy another one. So I would suggest middle schoolers give yours back, and varsity, usually are pretty full grown by the time they get to varsity. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the time you've given us here. Thank you for all the people that showed up tonight. Give us a great school year ahead, great sports seasons, and that if there's any issues, that you would be in it, God, and help us to resolve it, and that we would just have an enjoyable time together. And in your name, amen. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions, I am right here. Oh, if you're homeschooled, you need to see Miss Carolyn. She has your emergency care forms. If you are a full-time student or part-time student, you're free to go.